I never thought I'd see a police cruiser pull up to my cabin just because a key didn't fit in a lock. But that's exactly what happened. Blue lights flashing, gravel crunching under the tires, and standing there arms crossed like she owned the whole damn lake was the HOA president, Karen Whitfield. She had called 911 on me because her so-called master key wouldn't open my door. Let me start from the beginning. I bought this little cabin on Lake Haven after 40 years of working non-stop. I wanted silence, not the kind that feels empty, but the kind that feels earned. My cabin sat on the quiet side of the lake, tucked between tall pines, away from the chaos of the city, and as I thought, away from people who like to control everything. Turns out I was wrong about that last part. Across the lake was the new section, shiny modern homes with matching mailboxes and lawns trimmed like military haircuts. That's where the Lake Haven HOA ruled. I wasn't part of them. My cabin was built back in the 70s, decades before the HOA existed. I didn't pay their fees, didn't follow their rules, didn't even get their newsletters. Legally, I wasn't under their authority. But someone forgot to tell Karen Whitfield that. Karen was in her 50s, blonde hair pinned so tight it looked painful, always wearing pastel sweaters and clutching a clipboard like it was a weapon. She had that tone, the one that made every word sound like an accusation wrapped in a fake smile. It started small. She'd stroll by pretending to inspect the road, snapping photos of my dock, my mailbox, my fence. One time she told me, "Your dock doesn't meet community standards." I laughed and said, "Good thing I'm not in your community." She didn't laugh back. Then one morning I caught her standing right on my porch rattling a ring of keys. "Safety inspection," she said. "The HOA keeps an emergency master key for all cabins." I told her that was impossible, mine wasn't even in their records. But she brushed me off and stuck a key in my lock anyway. She twisted it once, twice, then harder, like she was trying to break in through sheer willpower. The key didn't fit, of course, but she kept going, red-faced and huffing. I just stood there watching, half in disbelief, half amused. When she finally gave up, she turned on me, furious. "You're blocking HOA access," she snapped. "We have authority over all properties around the lake." I told her flat out, "You're trespassing, Karen." Her eyes narrowed. "We'll see about that." She stormed off, muttering something about reporting me. I figured that was the end of it. I was wrong. The next afternoon I was working on my boat motor when I heard sirens echoing through the trees. A sheriff's cruiser pulled into the gravel path, lights flashing, and right behind it came Karen, looking smug as ever. I couldn't believe it. She actually called the cops because her fake master key didn't work. The officer stepped out, trying hard not to laugh. And then Karen started her performance. "Officer, this man locked me out of community property. I'm the HOA president, and I have a duty to ensure safety." The cop looked at me, then back at her. He sighed. "Ma'am," he said, "you might want to calm down." That's when Karen's face twisted in confusion because the officer called me Dad. She froze. Her jaw dropped. My son Daniel, the county sheriff, stood there trying not to grin. The silence was priceless. Karen's little show fell apart in seconds. She mumbled something about misunderstanding and marched off, red as a tomato. I thought that would finally shut her up. But people like Karen don't retreat when they're embarrassed, they retaliate. A few days later I got a bright red envelope in the mail. Notice of violation, unregistered dock. Then an email. Somehow she found my address, threatening fines and further legal action. I ignored both. My property wasn't under their control, but ignoring her was like pouring gasoline on her ego. Soon she sent inspection teams, two of her HOA buddies walking up and down the road, snapping photos of my fence like they were paparazzi. I waved at them. They pretended not to see me. That weekend I came home to find orange tape stretched across my driveway with a sign that read, "Private Area HOA Access Only." I laughed out loud, ripped it down, and tossed it in the trash. But the laughter didn't last. A few days later Daniel called. His voice was calm, but I could hear the disbelief behind it. "Dad, the HOA filed a complaint saying you threatened the president and blocked access to community property." I felt a knot in my stomach. "You've got to be kidding me." He told me to stay patient, document everything, and let the county handle it. But that night, as I sat on the porch watching the lake shimmer under moonlight, I felt something shift inside me. The peace I'd come here to find was gone. For the first time, I wondered if maybe I was the problem. Maybe I should just sell the place, move somewhere quiet again. Maybe people like Karen would always find a way to ruin peace no matter where I went. But before that thought could take root, Daniel called again. "Dad, you're not going to believe this. The county checked the property lines. Turns out half the land Karen claims to own isn't even under the HOA. The maps were filed wrong years ago. Your cabin is completely outside her jurisdiction." I couldn't help but grin. Well, I said, guess the clipboard queen's about to have a rough week. Karen, of course, didn't take the news well. The following Saturday, she hosted an emergency HOA meeting. She plastered flyers all over town. Lake preservation vote. Protect our community. But everyone knew what it really was, her last shot to take control of my property. I didn't go, but Daniel did. Not as my son as the sheriff. He walked in wearing his uniform, carrying a county order that officially invalidated the vote. The HOA had no right to annex private land. Witnesses told me the room went dead silent when he read it aloud. Karen just stood there, face-blank eyes darting as if her world was collapsing in real time. A few neighbors even clapped when she stormed out. For the first time in weeks, the lake felt calm again. Birds sang. The water sparkled. Even Karen's SUV stopped showing up near my driveway. I started to think maybe, just maybe, peace was back. But people like her don't go down quietly. They go down swinging. One evening, right before sunset, I saw her car parked at the end of my driveway again. She wasn't alone. 2 HOA board members were with her, pointing toward my dock and taking photos. I didn't interfere. I just watched. Sometimes the best thing you can do is let people dig their own graves. The next morning I woke to the low hum of an engine. I stepped outside and froze. A small barge floated near my dock. A crew of 3 men in HOA vests were there with power tools cutting into the dock posts. I shouted, "Hey, what the hell do you think you're doing?" One guy looked nervous. "Ma'am, Mrs. Whitfield told us this section of the lake is under HOA management." "Wrong," I said, dialing my phone. "It's under county protection and you're trespassing." Within 20 minutes, Daniel's sheriff truck pulled up. He stepped out, calm but stern hand on his belt. The workers froze. Karen sat in her car again, watching like some general directing troops from behind the lines. Daniel walked right up to her window. "Step out of the vehicle, Mrs. Whitfield." She tried to play innocent. "This is all a misunderstanding, Sheriff. We're just ensuring lake safety." "By cutting into private property," he said flatly. Her smile twitched. "I have the authority." "No, you don't," he interrupted. "The county issued an injunction last week. Any HOA activity on this property is illegal." By now, half the neighborhood had gathered near the road phones out recording. Karen's mask started to crack. Her lips trembled, her face pale. Daniel pointed toward the workers. "You all need to stop immediately. And you," he turned back to Karen, "will need to come to the station to give a statement." Karen exploded. "This is harassment. I did this for the good of the community." Daniel stayed calm. "You did this for control, ma'am. There's a difference." The crowd murmured. For years, people had whispered about Karen's bullying, but now they were watching it crumble right in front of them. She kept shouting, but no one was listening anymore. Her authority, that illusion of power she'd built, was gone. A week later, the county announced the suspension of the entire Lake Haven HOA board pending investigation. Bank accounts were frozen. Members resigned. Within days, the HOA voted to dissolve completely. Just like that, the empire Karen built on fear and fake rules collapsed. Afterward, the lake felt different. Peaceful. Free. Neighbors started repainting their docks. Kids laughed near the water again, and for the first time in months, no one mentioned compliance or violations. As for Karen, her house went up for sale not long after. The lights went out. The clipboard disappeared. One afternoon, I sat on my repaired dock, hammer in hand, sunlight dancing on the water. Every nail I drove in felt like reclaiming a piece of peace she'd tried to steal. And when I looked across the lake, her house sat there, empty, silent, forgotten. Funny thing about people like Karen, they spend their lives trying to unlock everyone else's doors, until they realize they've locked themselves out of their own humanity. Because in the end, at Lake Haven, her master key never opened any doors. It only locked her out of respect forever.